All right, welcome back into the podcast. I am very excited for this next guest. We have had Mike Singletary and Dick Butkus on this podcast. So if we're going to complete the trio of living legend Chicago Bears linebackers, you can't do it without Brian Urlacher, and he joins us now. Brian, Bill Zimmerman, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. You've had some pretty solid guys on here.
Yeah, we've done Those a good job establishing this podcast. We've gotten lucky a few times. So not as lucky as having you on though, and we appreciate it. You're jumping on with us. PXG golf clubs. We'll get to that here. You're doing a lot with them. I was watching earlier a funny thing with Rob Riggle. But before I get into that, I wanted to talk about that living legend thing because I'm old enough to remember when your career first started. I was following the Bears. I was far old enough, and you went from safety, and they had you at outside linebacker right away. Yeah. And then they moved you to middle linebacker. How quickly in your rookie year did they move you to middle? It was just a couple games in, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I started at Sam during training camp and OTAs. I stunk, man. I was so bad. I wasn't I was in the box, like, caged up on the tight end. I didn't like it. Wasn't comfortable. Week 2, Barry Minter gets hurt versus Tampa down there in Tampa in the second quarter. He hurts his back. And Coach Blosh tells me to go play Mike. And I was like, what? I haven't taken a snap at Mike in training camp, nothing. But he goes, just run the football. We'll figure it out. So I went in, and then I started every game since.
Yeah. And that was the thing is, like, you were so natural at it and so good at it right away. Like the media immediately, I mean, you're 3-4 games into your rookie year, and you're hearing Mike Singletary and all that right away. Was there a lot of added pressure that you were basically anointed immediately?
It wasn't pressure, honestly. It was kind of unfair to them. I'm a little snot-nosed rookie playing, my 5th game, and you got the media talking about, Butkus did this, Singletary did that, you did this. I'm like, yeah, those guys are in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna let's just wait and see. It's back then I didn't say that, but let's just see how I pan out. But yeah, it was nice, obviously, to be compared to them because 2 of the greatest of all time, and they played on our team.
Yeah, and look, and you lived up to the comparisons, Hall of Famer, first ballot at that. I want to ask you about that really quick because I think it was Deion Sanders a couple of weeks ago mentioned that he thinks there should be a distinction between first ballot guys and the rest of the Hall of Famers. He thinks it's extra special in that regard. You were a guy, I know the voting system can be kind of weird. We're seeing Devin Hester go through that right now, but you were able to be first ballot. Some people were saying, well, we can't put Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis in at the same time. That made no sense to me. But what's your stance on kind of the Hall of Fame voting and that first ballot distinction?
So I just don't understand how you say you can't put 2 guys at the same position in at the same year. It makes no sense to me. If there's 2 quarterbacks, so say Tom Brady and Peyton retired the same year, you're not going to put them both in? Or Randy Moss and Jay Rice retired. It doesn't make sense to me that you can't put 2 guys in at the same position. It makes 0 sense to me. If you're deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, then put you in the Hall of Fame. DeMarcus Ware did not get in last year. DeMarcus Ware is, I think, top 10 in the league history in sacks, has a Super Bowl. He's done deep. I don't know if he's defensive player of the year, but definitely has the stats and the career numbers to be in the Hall of Fame, and he on first ballot, in my opinion, as well. And he wasn't inducted. And the reason being was they say, well, we have some other guys we need to get in who are going to be off the ballot next year. No, if you're good enough to get in, you get in on the ballot that you're on. And if you don't get in, then you have other chances to get in later. But the process to me, it worked out great for me, obviously, because I got in on the first try, and I'm glad I did. But there are Terrell Owens goes in on the 3rd ballot. He's the first ballot guy. And the media, the reason being is the media holds grudges. I think we all know that. They're mad because the way he treated some of them, possibly, or the way they perceived him as a teammate. But you're going in based on what you did on the field. Unless you did something really stupid off the field that's going to hinder that, you're going in based on what you did on the field and your career stats. So vote on that.
Absolutely. But before we get off the Hall of Fame thing, I think based on kind of how it's worked for Hester, he's going to get in. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but again, playing the politics game here is silly. But of your other teammates, is there anyone else that maybe isn't getting consideration? Maybe a Peanut Tillman that should be getting more consideration for the Hall of Fame?
So I'll start with Olin. Olin Kreutz should be a Hall of Famer. Kevin Mawai went in, I think, and Kevin Mawai was a great player. Kevin Mawai went in 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe last or 2 years, I'm not sure, but he deserved to be in there. And in my opinion, Olin is in the same category as Kevin, if not better. He was my teammate. So of course I'm going to give him the nudge. Olin was unreal. Great leader, great player. 8 or 9 Pro Bowls, the All Pros. His stats are there too. I don't understand why he doesn't get the love. But you look at Peanut's numbers. He's in the Hall of Fame. Caused fumbles, picks, touchdowns, all the big number. The reason I guess Pro Bowls are a big deal to them for some reason. The things that the fans vote on are a big thing to the Hall of Fame voters. I guess I'm not sure, but I think he only had 2 Pro Bowls. Who cares about Pro Bowls? That the thing that you should worry about are the All Pros and how you were perceived around the NFL, and in the end, your numbers. And Peanut changed the way the game was played at corner with the Peanut punch. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and look, we saw the Peanut punch over the weekend with Jalen Johnson. I mean,
everyone does it. Everyone's mindful of it now, right? You see these DBs thinking about getting the ball. Also, Peppers should be a first ballot guy as well. He was a teammate for 2 or 3 years. Julius should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, before we get into some more Bear stuff, let's talk about you being a teammate with PXG. Golf equipment. It's sold all over the world. It's used by PGA and LPGA professionals. What's your partnership been like with PXG, and why? What is it about the equipment that makes you that you want to use that on the golf course? Because I know
I love golf. Number one, I want to use the best equipment available to me, and PXG is that. They when I started playing PXG 6 years ago, my game changed. I don't always hit the ball in the middle of the club like you're supposed to. There's a small sweet spot on those clubs, and I normally don't hit it there because I'm not that good. But the forgiveness of the irons is amazing. I may miss hit it, and may lose 5 to 7 yards, and it doesn't go offline very much. But they changed my golf game right when I started playing them. And Mr. Parsons is a great man. He's a philanthropist. He gives a ton of money away every year to charities, to the military. Just a good man. He started PXG, I think, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, and it's just taken off. You got lots of PGA Tour guys playing it. Amateurs, it increases it actually takes their handicap down immediately, just with the clubs, switching of the clubs. They're great, and they're good people over there. But I'm very lucky to be one of their partners and be involved with their stuff.
And for those of you who are into golf yourself, probably in the Chicagoland area, there's retail locations in Northbrook and Oak Brook Terrace. So if you're looking to get some PXG equipment, you can run out today and get some. And if you're into golf and having some fun, you should check out Playing Around with Rob Riggle. It's PXG YouTube series, and Brian's on episode 3. It's him and Jay Feely. I was watching it earlier today. It's fun, and I know Rob does a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot of those shorts and comedic things. What was it like being out there with Rob on the golf course?
So I've known Rob for 5 or 6 years now. He's great. We always have a good time. He's a KU guy. My daughter goes to KU right now, so we got a connection right there. And he's a huge military guy. So Rob was a Marine. Now I think he's a reserve Marine now, but so Mr. Parsons was a Marine as well. So there's a connection there with Bob and Rob when it comes to that. But he does great things away from his acting and all that stuff. He does a lot of good stuff for the military, a lot of charity stuff. He's just a good dude, and he's obviously funny. So we had a good time in those 9 holes we played. We had a really good time.
Now, you accomplished a lot as an athlete: Hall of Fame, Super Bowl, countless Pro Bowls, and all your accolades.
Yeah.
But you mentioned on something in that short, and I guarantee you remember every detail, because it doesn't matter how much an athlete has done. Their holes in one, they always remember. And you said you got a hole in one on a par 4?
On a par 4, yeah.
Happy Gilmore thing here. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear the details.
So we have a hole at Seville, one of my home courses out here. It's number 16. It's about 297 yards to the front. It's a short par 4, but there's water all down the right. So if you hit it right, you're in the water. So I hit driver. I've hit it on the green before there. I mean, I've had some eagle putts, whatever. But that day, I hit it a little bit left, and I hit a cut. I'm a big cut, a push cut slice fade because my ball flight, everything falls to the right. So I hit a little bit left, and it hit on the backside of one of the bunkers we have, and it just kept rolling towards the green. And I was only with 2 of my buddies that day. We were playing threesome, and it looked like it was behind the flag, because I've had balls where I thought went the hole before, and you get up there and it's behind the flag. But I saw it disappear, so I was like, oh, it went behind the flag. I'm gonna have an eagle putt though. And we get up there, and we didn't see the ball. I was like, there's no way this went in. And I go check the cup, and it was in the hole. Man, just you don't expect it to ever make a hole on a par 4 or a par 3 for that matter. But it was a pretty freaking cool experience to hit my PXG driver, by the way. But to knock it in on the par 4 was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, there you go. PXG driver again available.
That's right.
Northbrook and Oak Brook Terrace. Speaking of aces, the Bears have another one at linebacker with Roquan Smith. There was some talk of, a lot of talk off season with his contract extension. Things didn't get done. He's playing on it. I know the Bears can play with the franchise tag the year after that. What do you think of Roquan as a player? And if Roquan wanted to be the highest paid linebacker in the NFL, does he deserve that kind of cabbage?
So I haven't seen him play a ton. We don't get a lot of the Bears games down here. I'm not searching around to find their games. So I haven't seen him play a ton, but when I have watched him play, he's a good football player. He gets to the football. He understands the scheme. And I think this new defense with Coach Eberflus is perfect for him to play the will. That's what Lance played in our scheme. I won't say faster guy, but he'll just have more opportunities to make plays at the will position in that defense because if they get a good pass rush, he's going to be the guy breaking on the football, the cover 2 check down guy, just the guy that's normally around the football a bunch. So I think he's in my opinion, the best player on their team. Offense, defense, whatever. He's the best player on that football team. I don't know the salaries of the guys at his position, so I can't say he should be the highest paid guy. He's a top 5, 6 linebacker in the NFL. I do believe that there's some really good linebackers in the NFL right now. He's in that category. There's 5 or 6 guys that you can put in that category, and he's up there with them.
Well, and you're talking about the defense and the scheme, and I think you can make a lot of correlation between what they're doing now and what Lovey's defenses and everything was doing with you guys. So. When you look at kind of Matt Eberflus and what he could potentially bring, I mean, Rod Marinelli they've kind of talked about the connection there. He's kind of a mentor there. You played with Rod. Well, how do you think Matt's going to do, bringing that Marinelli mindset and the loafs and everything? How do you think he's going to do in Chicago?
They played hard week 1. I was in Chicago last weekend for the game. I didn't go to the game. I saw it on TV, but they played hard. I think that's the number one thing people don't realize with a Lovie Smith, Rod Marinelli, Bob Babbage coach defense. You're going to get to the football or you're not going to play, and it's just simple math. If you get more guys around the football, when those footballs do come loose, you're going to get more of them. The tip balls, the fumbles that are on the ground. If you have more guys around the football, you're going to recover those footballs. But they played hard, man. They got to the quarterback. They put pressure on the kid, on the young guy for San Fran, and they made plays when they had to. The second half, they played great. Defensively especially, but they've made enough plays to win the game. I think. Defensively, they're going to keep themselves in a bunch of games this year. And it's funny because you look at that defense, and besides Roquan and Eddie Jackson and Robert Quinn, there's not a lot of guys that I'm familiar with on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of new faces up and down the board, kind of like you mentioned. And I think a lot of, media members, local and national, kind of looked at that Bears roster, myself included. I had criticisms. I had concerns about what they were able to do. Yeah. But I think how that defense played as a unit. And I think we talk about it all the time as defenses. You could have, 1 or 2 incredible individuals, but if you have 8 or 9 guys lagging behind, the defensive unit's going to be bad. That really needs to be a whole. And they really did play well as a whole and had some surprises like the rookie Dominique Robinson. I mean, fantastic.
Played well. Yes. I think defensively, your unit has to be cohesive. You have to play because you're relying on everyone else to do their job so you can do yours. The corners, obviously, when they're in man, need to play man coverage. But for the most part, the back end's relying on the front to get pressure. So the ball comes out fast. Linebackers are relying on them to get their gaps so they can get in their gaps. So you have to be cohesive. And they played together. That first week, it was pretty impressive to watch what they did to that offense. That's a good offense. Coach Shanahan does a good job with moving the ball and all the misdirection things they do. It's tough to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did a heck of a job. 10 points. I don't care what kind of the conditions are. You allow 10 points.
I agree. Yep, same here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to ask you, it's almost the obligatory question. You get someone on from the Chicago Bears. You got to ask about Justin Fields and how you think he's developing. I mean, look, the first half was rough for everyone on the offense, Justin Fields included. Yeah. But second half, they made some adjustments, a couple big plays that really kind of changed the momentum, the scramble drill, which, resulted in some blown coverage. Now, where are you with Justin Fields? Do you think this guy has the potential to be the guy for the Bears for the next 10, 15 years?
I hope he is. Obviously, you draft a guy where they drafted him and they've missed on players in the past in those positions. So athletically, man, the dude's gifted. You see him run around at that position and do the things he does. I just worry about him taking hits, like you do with any young quarterback or any quarterback period. You worry about the hits they take when they scramble. But man, he made some good decisions with the football late in the game there. I just think they got to keep him upright. If you can protect him and run the football, he's got the skills to be good for a long time at that position. He's dynamic in what he can do And it's hard as a defensive player to prepare for a guy like that, because when he does scramble, it's so much easier for the offense because they know where they're going. You know, that they can break and they work on the scramble drill. So when he does, the play breaks down, he's definitely got the advantage in his back pocket there.
Yeah, no, look, it's one of those things that for me, when I watch him, and obviously I'm not an expert, I don't know football like
me, I'm not an expert either. I'm not an expert, far from it.
But you know, he's always going to have that ability to make those incredible plays, because he's such an athlete and got such an incredible arm. But you know, what you need to start seeing, I think we really started seeing that in the second half, and we saw it towards the tail end of last year, is him stacking plays to put together drives. I think that was lacking early. Maybe you want to talk about the scheme and some of the things that we're doing last year that didn't do him any favors. But you know, I'm
not a blame the scheme or blame the coach guy. Honestly, that's not my thing. Is to blame, the scheme wasn't good for him. The coaches are going to try and put the players in the best positions they can to succeed. And people can blame Nagy, they can blame whoever they want to. Players need to make plays. I'm not on board with the coaches didn't put him in position. I'm not that guy. You know, there's a scheme. Quarterback needs to adjust to it, or whatever, and that's the way it's going to be. I do like his ability to scramble, man. The plays that they're going to get some extra first downs because of his ability to scramble and get those first downs. It's amazing watching him back there do what he does. He's just smooth too. You know, when he runs, it's not like he's all over the place. He's smooth.
I have to ask you this because you know, obviously don't get a chance to talk to you very often. In terms of your accomplishments, individual on the field, and if you want to consider it as a team accomplishment as well, that's fine. But in terms of the regular season, I don't want to get into playoffs and obviously beating the Saints, making the Super Bowl. That I'm sure goes in a different category. But is that Cardinals game, they are who we thought we were game? Is that your best game, regular season performance of your career, do you think?
No, you know, I had the most tackles in that game. I think I had 24, 25 tackles, had the caused fumble, and but no. So I like the big plays. You know, you look at my second year in Atlanta, we played the Falcons down there. I had a pick, a sack, a caused fumble, a recovered fumble, and a touchdown. I may have had 2 sacks actually, and I had like 3 or 4 tackles for losses. I like the big plays. You know, the tackles we're supposed to do as linebackers. That's our job. You're supposed to make tackles when you get the opportunity, which I had a lot of opportunities that game, so I made a lot of plays. But I like the big plays. You know, the Atlanta the next year, I think I had 2.5 sacks, a caused fumble, another pick. So I just like the big plays. I think my career, I look back and the games where I'm most satisfied with are the games where I made the big plays and not just one, but stack them up the whole game long.
And I have to ask you, looks like the Bears are going to be headed to Arlington Heights in the next few years. Yeah. I mean, you know, you spent your whole career patrolling Soldier Field. I don't know what you thought of the turf or not when you were playing on it, but
I didn't care. It didn't bother me that much.
What's your thoughts on them leaving? I mean, that's been their home for 50 years, you know, Wrigley Field before that. What's your thoughts about them going out to the suburbs and potentially being in a dome?
Kind of mixed. I don't like the dome part. I'll tell you that much, Bill. I don't like the Bears playing in a dome at home.
You like the Bear weather?
Well, it's one of the few advantages you have of playing in Chicago as home field. You know, the weather in November or later could be terrible. So you kind of plan on that. And teams who come from the West Coast and down south, they do not like that weather. They can't prepare for it. They can't, no matter how many times you try and flex, there's nothing like that weather. So I don't like that aspect of it. I understand they want to get a Super Bowl there and all this, but I think it makes sense for the Bears to do that. You know, they don't own the rights to Soldier Field. You know, I don't know what they'll call it in Arlington Heights. It's going to be kind of weird to have it called something else, I think. But financially, I think it makes a ton of sense for them to do this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, they're talking about trying to bring in Super Bowls and championship games and Final Fours. It's a lot of money for the city. It's tough to argue.
Sure. No, I totally agree with that. And like I said, you look at what Jerry Jones has done in Dallas with that stadium. They get everything. They get the concerts. They get everything at AT&T Stadium. So, man, who knows if the Bears do something like that. I know one thing. I don't really want to be in February in Chicago in February personally because it's -10, -15. So the Super Bowl pitch to me doesn't really work because it's freezing there anyway.
I'll finish with this. Packer week. Do the players get into it as much as the fans?
It is exciting. I'll say this. So when I was playing for Lovey, it was a huge deal. Lovey made sure right away that we were going to understand it's Packer week. Our number one goal was to beat the Packers twice. That was our goal when he came in there. He made sure that was known. And it's different. And there's more media in the locker room. There's a little more it's a little added sense of urgency because it is the Packers. So they're so close to us. So we see all the media coming out of there. I'm sure you see it coming out of Chicago as well. So it is a little added intensity right there.
All right, so there he is, everyone. Brian Urlacher on behalf of PXG Golf Equipment. You can check out the retail locations in Northbrook and Oak Brook Terrace, and make sure you check out his YouTube, Playing Around with Rob Riggle, episode 3. It's Jay Feely, Brian Urlacher, and Rob Riggle. Brian, thanks for so much time. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Bill.
Take care.
Take care, brother.